Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive, bringing you guys our team builder here for week 7 of the UCL. The St. Louis Rampardos are taking on Coach David, Sensational GP, and the South Beach Slowkings. If you guys are hyped for this match, show you loving that like button down below, and definitely make sure you guys subscribe if you are new. Last week we picked up a very narrow win over Patters and the Newcastle Needle Kings. Very narrow on that one for sure. But this week we've got a tough opponent, man. I know David often is not regarded as being the best battler in the world, which is fine. That's not a knock on him, but I will say this, man, he's got 2 wins this season, so he's already done better than last season, and he's got an insanely good team, dude. Insanely good team. And that combined with the fact that I've already lost to Christian this season, where I kind of got bodied, I really don't want to lose again. At least for the next couple weeks. We have a couple really interesting matches coming up, and then we have to take on some really tough opponents. So to me, I really have to make sure I win out as much as I can, because if we're gonna make playoffs, man, I can't really afford to lose any more games. I think if I lose 5 games this season, I don't think I'm gonna make playoffs. So really got to make sure we step it up and hustle. So anyway, looking at his team, he's got again an amazing team, and it's very challenging to prep for. He's got a Landorus, Theory in form, can be offensive or defensive, could be Stealth Rocks, could be Rocky Helmet, defensive with Intimidate, things like that. Very bulky Pokemon because of that Intimidate, but it does have that glaring 4x Ice weakness that we're going to try to capitalize on. One thing to note about it too is it normally, like, Venusaur can handle a lot of his team, and you'll see throughout his roster Venusaur actually checks a lot of his team, but Landorus does have the ability to run like Aerial Ace. It can also get Psychic. He can run some sort of Power Herb or Power whatever it's called, Fly shenanigans, so he might have some sort of trick up his sleeve, so I'm gonna have to definitely scout for that. He's got a Mega Altaria or regular Altaria, very scary Pokemon. Obviously I know it very well in the GBA. It can be defensive, it can be offensive, especially physically. It can do so many different things. The thing about Altaria though is it can't beat Venusaur. There's no variants of Mega Altaria that actually beat Venusaur unless you run like a non-Mega Altaria with like Power Herb Fly kind of thing. You cannot beat Venusaur with a Mega Altaria unless you get like 4 Dragon Dances up, at which point you can't live the Sludge Bombs or whatever. So I'm not too concerned about the Altaria. He's got a Keldeo. I think he's either going to bring it like Scarf or Specs or whatever. Keldeo is a really good Pokemon obviously, but it is limited a little bit in terms of what it can do. It gets hard-walled by Vaporeon, so I really think that it's going to not be too big of an issue, but it is pretty scary otherwise. Entei is a huge threat that I'm very scared about. Entei can just body teams with Sacred Fire, Choice Band, 50% chance to burn, very hard to switch into, very hard to work around. He may be a little bit discouraged to bring Entei because of T-Tar, potentially Sandrush, Excadrill, Vaporeon. Venusaur can take some hits from it. I can Earthquake or Sludge Bomb. So I do have some options to check it, but it's very scary nevertheless. Porygon 2, 1,000,000%. I feel like he's bringing Porygon 2. Same with Landorus and Altaria, maybe Altaria. I think he's going to bring the Entei. I feel like 1,000,000% he's bringing Porygon 2. It's so much so that I felt that in my team building, I had 5 of my 6 Pokemon, and I'll explain this as I talk about my team. I had 5 of my 6 Pokemon picked with their movesets, and I was thinking about my 6 Pokemon that I wanted to add, and I added my 6 Pokemon solely because I needed another way to beat Porygon 2. It sounds really dumb, but this thing is very bulky, man. And if he runs Trace, he can trace my Water Absorb and get that. He can trace my Sand Rush with Excadrill if he wants to get really creative. He can do so many different things. What else can he trace? He could trace Salamance's Intimidate and be a really good response to Salamence with Ice Beam. So this thing is very problematic, so I have to really be prepared for that thing. He's got a Celebi as well. Celebi is a little tricky against my team. I have the proper coverage for it. If he runs an offensive set, then he loses a lot of bulk that he might need to take hits from things. If he runs a bulky set, then I can outspeed him with things like Excadrill. So he's kind of caught in the middle there. So I don't know if he's going to bring it, but a lot of times Celebi is more of a support Pokemon. He's got Electros as well. Electros is a very versatile Pokemon with Assault Vest, Volt Switching, and Drain Punching, and Giga Draining, and everything like that. So knockoff, etc. So we have to be very careful around that. I actually am going to tell you now, I'm bringing Mold Breaker Excadrill because I am a little bit worried about Electros, but I should be able to take it on relatively well. He's got the Escavalier, which I think he could bring actually, and you'll see what I'm preparing for the Escavalier with, but he could very well bring it because it actually handles Venusaur really well if I don't carry HP Fire. It can hit pretty hard. It also manages to take on, it can take on T-Tar very well if I don't have a fire coverage move, things like that. So if I slip up in my prep, Excadrill can really put in some work. Golbat is his only form of hazard removal, so that's something really interesting to note here. Is no way to get rid of hazards except for default Golbat. Otherwise, Golbat, it's kind of the same thing. It's a bulky Pokemon like P2, but P2, in my opinion, is way more threatening. I fully expect him to bring Porygon 2 and not Golbat. I don't really anticipate that. I don't anticipate any of the last three either. Golurk, Steelix, Muck. He hates Muck. He was trying to trade it to me. I know he doesn't like Muck, so he's not going to bring that. It's terrible against my team. Steelix is pretty decent, but I think he's going to be a little bit scared because of Excadrill. I've got Vaporeon. I've got Venusaur. I've got so many things to beat Steelix. And Golurk. Golurk's relatively good, but again, same thing. Vaporeon, Venusaur, T-Tar beats it. I outspeed. Excadrill can put in some work. I just have a lot of things to answer Golurk, so I don't really think he's going to bring that, especially when he has the powerhouses like Entei, Porygon, Celebi, like so many good Pokemon that he could bring. I really don't anticipate that. So let's talk about our team here. First thing I needed to do is have some responses to his threats, and Venusaur is 1,000,000% that response. Again, it responds to Altaria incredibly well. It beats Keldeo every time. It can take on Entei okay. It can beat Celebi. Well, it can't beat Celebi, but it can take a hit and hurt it back. It can take on Landorus if he's not running coverage like Aerial Ace or Fly or whatever. So we have a lot of options there for Venusaur to be successful. Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Hidden Power Fire, Synthesis. Hidden Power Fire is to make sure I can take out that Excadrill. We do about 50% to it after AV is gone. If AV's on there, it's like 40% or so. So we got to be careful there because he can Mega Horn us and do a tremendous amount of damage to us. But we do outspeed, so that's really nice to note. But Venusaur should be able to put in some serious work against his team. The next Pokemon I'm bringing, I have to bring it, Vaporeon. It's one of my best responses to his Entei. It also incredibly stops the Keldeo. Wish support is really nice. I have to have Heal Bell support because of Entei and Sacred Fire burns. I can't allow my Venusaur to get burned. You know, and kind of going back to Venusaur, I'm running a very physically defensive variant, just so you guys know. This is also standard mixed Vaporeon spread, but Scald is there. Obviously, I can't touch Porygon 2 with this thing, but Porygon 2 can't really do much back to me either. I could roar him out, and roar is there because the potential setup Altaria. I have to be able to roar it out, and that goes same for Calm Mind Keldeo or Calm Mind Entei. Being able to roar those Pokemon out are very important for my team. Next Pokemon making its debut for the St. Louis Rampardos is Murica, our Braviary here, running Return, Brave Bird, U-Turn, Superpower, Max Attack, a Jolly Nature, which means we speed tie with a after +1 with the Altaria, so I want to make sure I can speed tie with it at least. Standard Mega Altaria does, with Dragon Dance, does run Adamant, not Jolly, so he may slip there. But Return and Brave Bird destroy his entire team, and the best part about this set, if he brings Golbat, which I don't think he does, if he goes for Defog, I get a +2 attack boost. If he goes into Landorus to check this thing, I get a +1 attack boost because Defiant boosts me by 2 after the -1, and then I sweep his entire team. So Brave Bird destroys Celebi, it destroys Keldeo, I can 2-hit KO things like Entei. I mean, I 2-KO everything. And one of the things you're gonna see here is my next Pokemon is really like the support I'm trying to bring. I have a lot of cohesion on my team this week. And I have a very core strategy I'm going to work with. So pretty standard Braviary. I'm planning on saving this to the end of the game to sweep with it, but we have a U-turn there if I need some momentum or whatever. But this Pokemon right here is kind of the core to my strategy, and that is Cofagrigus. I'm running the Toxic Spikes this week, and I understand that he has some things that levitate. He's got the Landorus, which can float above it, Electros, Excadrill. This Pokemon are immune to it, I'm sorry. Celebi has Natural Cure, but after Altaria Mega Evolves, it can be poisoned. After Keldeo gets poisoned, Entei gets poisoned, Porygon gets poisoned. And this is one of my ways to deal with those Pokemon because Braviary is pretty strong, but it's not incredibly strong. So I do need a little bit of chip damage from those Toxic Spikes on some of his Pokemon for Braviary to pick up the kills. My plan is to set up 1 layer T-Spikes, does about 12% every turn, as opposed to 2 layers, which does 6%, then 12%, then I think 18% or whatever. But either way, 1 layer of Spikes does more in 2 turns than 2 layers of Spikes does. Or yeah, so because 12 and 12 is 24, 6 and 12 is 18, so 1 layer of Spikes is better. So I'm just gonna do 1 layer of Spikes. I got Knockoff on there because Porygon 2 is a pretty decent response to this thing, so I could just at least knock off its Eviolite. Pain Split just to get some health back and kind of give me a little bit more longevity. This might be my lead this week. Again, its main focus is simply get those T-Spikes up, maybe knock off a few items. It's not gonna knock out his whole team. It's not really gonna do anything like that, but I just need to get those Spikes up because they are crucial for me to wear down his offensive options, especially if he has any setup sweepers. The next Pokemon we're bringing I'm very excited for is going to be our Excadrill here, guys, as I accidentally went over the wrong Pokemon, but it's okay. It is our Excadrill. We are bringing a Jolly Mold Breaker Air Balloon Excadrill here. This thing is very interesting. We have pretty much max speed, right? Yeah, max speed actually allows us to outpace an Adamant Entei. So if you guys don't know, for Entei, I believe for Entei to have extreme speed on it, it has to be Adamant because of the event that I was given out in. So because of that, if we're Jolly, we actually outspeed Entei, which is something I don't think he's going to expect. Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin, X Scissor. Very weird set here. I'm not carrying Iron Head for Altaria, which is kind of scary. It's a risk I'm going to be willing to take here because I think Venusaur just handles Altaria so well, and I wanted another response to Celebi, and I felt like this was the good answer to that, because if he runs defensive Celebi, I can X Scissor it. If he runs offensive Celebi, I should be able to live one hit and then X Scissor him. So we've got the air balloon there too, and the reason for that is typically Landorus is going to carry Earthquake and Stone Edge. Maybe he carries coverage for Venusaur, which is either flying or psychic type coverage, and then he probably carries Stealth Rocks or U-turn. And Excadrill can actually take all those moves relatively well, and if I have the air balloon, I can switch into an Earthquake and force him out. I could get a Rapid Spin off, I can get my Stealth Rocks up for free, whatever it may be, but being able to have that air balloon is going to be interesting. And I think this is actually the first time, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but this is at least, if it's not the first time, it's like maybe the second time that I've ever brought air balloon to a match. I've never run air balloon ever. I don't really like the item. I have a hard time using it because I feel like it's so situational, but I was thinking about all the different items for Excadrill, and I couldn't think of one that I wanted more. I didn't want leftovers because I'm not really running a bulky variant, and it's not really going to do much for me. I didn't want to have like Life Orb because the extra damage really didn't add much for me, and I didn't, you know, and I could have run like a berry, like a Shucka Berry or something like that, but Air Balloon seemed like it could fit, so I'm hoping it works out. And you know, Excadrill is Mold Breaker, of course, to take on the Electros. I OHKO it. I could 2 KO the Escavalier. Obviously, offensive Celebi, I OHKO with X Scissor. I 2 KO with without it, but after T spikes, it knocks it out. So a couple different things there. Again, I can't touch Landorus with this thing, and I can't touch Altaria with this thing. So this Excadrill could be a mistake. It could really work out. I'm not sure, but I wanted the Stealth Rocks on my team because of Entei. I need to have them just in case, and I needed Rapid Spin support because I don't want my other Pokemon to get worn down, because Braviary should be at full. I needed it to be at full to take hits from things like Altaria and stuff like that if I need to switch it in on a move late game or whatever it may be. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with this Excadrill here. And the last Pokemon is the one I meant to say before. Very excited about it. He is not shiny this week, though. We did not bring the shiny Heracross. We're bringing Scarborn back, baby. Pink Nokia was on the sidelines. Scarborn is coming in. If you guys don't know, Scarborn is my Heracross from the GBA, and this is my old school Heracross here, and we are bringing the Jolly Guts Natural Gift, Natty Gift, Ganlod Berry, baby. Let's go! How hyped are you for this set? If you have not hit that like button yet, you better hit it for this set, because this set is legendary. This is where it's at. I've been keeping this in my back pocket for the right moment this season, and here it is. Almost brought it earlier in the season against the Florges. This is the time, ladies and gentlemen. Natural Gift. If you don't know, Natural Gift consumes the berry that you're holding and fires off a physical attack to hit the wild Pokemon. Ganlon Berry gives me an 80 base power ice move, and guess what that does? That OHKO's Landorus that's offensive, that OHKO's Altaria prior to Mega Evolution and knocks it out after rocks if it's Mega Evolved. This thing is amazing, and here's my plan. I'm gonna tell you my strategy. I know he's bringing Porygon 2. I know he's bringing it. I already told you. I have a feeling Porygon 2 has to come. It's so good against my team. Heracross is the 6th man that I needed to bring to take on Porygon 2. If he goes for a move like Toxic, he goes for T-Wave, he goes for Tri-Attack, any of those moves, I can eat those moves, switch into Heracross, immediately threaten him out with a close combat. What on his team switches into a close combat or a Mega Horn? Altaria and Landorus. Both those Pokemon are phenomenal responses to Heracross, and in my mind, there's no reason why he wouldn't switch to them, because why would he sacrifice his Porygon 2 to a close combat when he could easily go into Landorus, get an attack drop, take the hit, he resists it, Altaria resists the close combat, they both resist the Mega Horn, Knockoff isn't going to do anything to Altaria, it barely does much to Landorus after the Intimidate, and they can threaten me out immediately with a Fairy and a Flying type move. This set is like destined to work, man. I'm so excited about it. Natural Gift, a Ganlon Berry, like I said, OHKO's offensive Landorus, and OHKO's Altaria after rocks. if he's Mega Evolved. If he's not Mega Evolved, he Yoko's him too. So I love this set, man. I really, really want it to work, dude. I really want it to work, and I'm hopeful that this set can put in the finest this week against Mr. David and the South Beach Slowkings. So that's our squad, man. It's gonna be tough, but I think we can definitely pick up a win here this week. Braviary is definitely one of our win cons. Hopefully clean it up at the late game, but I gotta get those T-spikes up early. I gotta keep the pressure on him, start to whittle his team down, use my defensive core, Cofagrigus, Venusaur, and Vaporeon effectively. Heracross is there to put on the pressure offensively. Hopefully pick up a cheeky kill with the Natty Gift and make some things happen. That's gonna be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I'm the coach of your St. Louis Rampardos, and I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.